Could everybody please help me welcome Ryan to start his presentation?
Thank you. Right, so I'm Ryan Koh. I'm the Chair and Director of the UQ Cybersecurity Initiative, which we have introduced at the opening. Now, today, I guess it's going to be a few parts of this, like half an hour that we're going to do. The first part is to basically to introduce to you what we are planning to do. The second part is to hear about whether, from you. So it's kind of interactive towards the 2/3 part of the session. You can throw eggs or, or tomatoes or something. Just give us feedback. It'll be great. We want to learn and we want to validate what we're doing so that we give the best value for the Queensland and society and the nation. And then finally, the most exciting part will probably be the draw, the lucky dip draw. So if you still want to participate in that, you can just indicate your hand up, and then we'll pass you the form, and you can still be included. Yep. Thank you. So just gonna show you a quick video because it's near lunchtime. I just want to Yeah, I did do the singing, actually. So just a quick poll. Just want to see if there's any UQ alumni here. Wow, cool. And current UQ members here? Yeah, okay. That's nice. Thank you. And how many of you are from the government? I asked this question before, but I just want to understand a little bit more at this crowd, because you're the ones who actually made the effort to come. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm sure there must be something you want to get out of this session, right? So the government, can you raise your hand again? So that people from the industry can also see you. And industry, yep. And universities, yep, wow, that's quite a lot, yep. And TAFE colleges? Yep, cool, yeah. We're actually going to work with the TAFE Queensland as well. Others? I may have missed out, spooks. Yeah, I don't know. Where are you from? Anyone? Yeah. So another question is this, right? Who hires the cybersecurity professionals? Yeah, okay, a few of you, right? So it's kind of an interactive slide. Huh? I want to ask you, what are the common challenges you face for each hiring process? Yeah, David, do you want to give your 2 cents? Yeah.
Obviously, the caliber of people.
Yes,
yeah. And there's a huge demand. We can see that growing. So we're always under pressure, not only just in recruiting, but actually retaining as well. Yeah. So I think it's the 2 elements to it: recruiting and retaining.
And retaining, and then somebody leave for like a $1 million a year job or something.
Yeah, that doesn't happen to me, but.
It's based on a true story. Yeah, I've heard that happening before.
Yeah, but certainly for our analysts, and we put a lot of effort into the training of the analysts, so that they're very high value, very high caliber.
Yeah. Yeah. Attracting and retaining. Yeah. Any others?
I'd say sorting the wheat from the chaff.
Sorting the wheat from the chaff.
And also actually getting people to even apply is actually often a common problem.
Yeah.
It's just getting someone who's a little bit more developed than technical. And I think that some people even tend to gravitate towards it and go, yeah, I can really use my technical chops here. But with government, we have selection criteria for jobs, and those things may even have, at an entry level, 4 or 5, and one of them is technical.
Right.
One of my APS colleagues earlier in the conference, she got a grade analyst in, straight out of uni. 1 year later, Telstra poached him for 40,000 more a year than she could pay. And there's always that challenge. Retention is hard, and you want to get people who maybe got a little bit more of an ethos about serving the public, and as opposed to just collecting the dosh, though we wish them well and when they go, and hope that they make a mozza and maybe come back later.
Thank you. Well, any others want to talk about the challenges? So it sounds like retaining and attracting, and retaining especially seems to be more challenging than attracting. Yeah.
Being able to afford them.
Afford them,
really simple.
Yeah,
entry level we're finding in Sydney is 6 figures. For a junior straight out of university.
That's right. It's like precious commodities now. Yeah.
I was just going to say that you really need people who have a very broad range of kind of skills, like I guess very well-rounded individuals, and they're quite rare.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And what type of jobs do you recruit for? This is another one. So 2 answers, because I just want to have a flavor about anyone who hasn't spoken just now, but hiring people and want to speak.
Cyber tech and cyber assurance.
Cyber tech and cyber assurance. Yep.
Policy procedure.
Yep.
That sometimes I think gets a little bit left out. It's
Yep.
like, oh yeah, I'm tech, I can do everything. But hang on a second, put some policies and get people to sort of follow the policies. That's a real challenge.
Okay. And
Operations and architecture.
operations and architecture. Okay. Yep. The challenge is there. Anyone talking about cyber insurance, GRC, research? Yep. Okay. Yep.
R&D with offensive background.
R&D with offensive background. Yeah. You see. So that's the.
I've yet to encounter a student with proper offensive skills that's got a full university.
That's a challenge to us. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And the other thing is the other spectrum of the supply chain of jobs, right? So do you think that your HR advertised the jobs properly? So for example, you want a fresh graduate with 5 years experience and a CISSP and a CISM, and maybe even Crest with a little bit of Sense Institute experience. Yeah. Yeah. No one, yeah.
Presentation skills.
Yeah. Yep. Right. So this is one of the challenges, and actually in the United States they have this framework called the NIST Framework, which are trying to address some of these challenges. I think in Australia it's good that we can come together and maybe we can start to lobby for something like that. Not reinventing what they've done, but adapting what they've done to the Australian economy. And what is the biggest worry, right, as a member of the? So this is the final question before I go on and talk. So what is the biggest worry right now? Anyone? Just one.
From a government point of view, it's very important to do a work-life balance. And our security guys, they work to the bone.
Yeah.
Private sector, I have no idea, but I know for the government, they work to the bone and they're always in big demand. And it's hard to get other security people involved in that area because there's no one there. They've already been poached in their private sectors. And I'm quite surprised that our guys are still actually working for the government. But the reason why they are is because they can still work and do home life as well.
And you're a great leader. That's why I want to stay with you.
Oh, I wish I was.
Yeah.
I'm just a grunt.
Yeah.
So that sounds like appropriate resourcing.
Yeah. Resourcing. Yeah. Resourcing.
For me, it's the legal risk as working in this industry.
Yeah.
When we have a government that isn't protecting whistleblowers right now, a lot of these actions can be, especially when we're talking about the offensive actors.
That's right. Yeah.
How do you become an offensive actor without being seen as a threat? So yeah.
Yeah, we understand that, and in fact, at the University of Queensland recently, because we have a few batches of new PhD students, so we are starting to consider the ethical approval routes. And when we're doing that, right, and looking at the classical ethical approval routes, they usually talk about DNA and genomics and private data from a biological point of view. But we would like to see how we can actually improve our even our internal processes on doing such a thing, so that we protect people who do the research, and if they do it legally, of course, and also how can we encourage more open research. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of the Australian landscape as summarized by AusCyber. So they say that actually it's quite large. We have about 19,500 cybersecurity professionals in Australia, and many of you are here today, and across a wide range of different jobs. And using the NIST Framework, they categorize people into 7 categories, ranging from investigations, which is about 2%, doing forensics, doing attribution, and so on, and then all the way to maintenance of the IT security systems, about 21%, about close to 1/4. And a growing number of these roles are non-technical and require multidisciplinary skills from law, communications, and psychology, right? But it's not all doom and gloom, but the challenge is quite real, and it's more severe than previously thought. All of you I'm probably preaching to the choir here, because you would know about this thing about shortage and so on and so forth. But what is interesting is that this number here that they're talking about. So I think every university, TAFE, even training institutions or private entities all have to work together to actually make this happen. So it's great to see all the spectrum of people providing the training here. And apparently that's good news. The education system is responding effectively. More than half of Australia's universities actually offer cybersecurity qualifications, and many others teach some courses. There's also TAFE colleges around with a standardized program, and the numbers are increasing, and we've seen that all over Australia. However, there's some risks which would slow down the mobilization, such as you rightly say just now, because I want to see if I was trying to test what they say, and is it true with what is on the ground, right? So this is right. They're struggling to compete with the private sector and retain the teaching staff, and new cybersecurity courses should be industry focused and include opportunities for work integrated learning. So how do you make sure that when they join you, they are a university grad who knows how to do the work as well, right? And to truly prepare them for the jobs. So if these risks are addressed, then the long-term outlook is quite encouraging. So we are just doing kind of a single response, and it is my encouragement to you, if you're from other universities today, that we could talk about how we respond together and work together. So there might be some courses that you teach that we can't, and there are some courses that we teach that you can't. So it's good to work together, okay? So this is our response. It's just an example. It's not a prescription, but hopefully it can inspire more people to do that. So you've seen these slides before, but the gist of this slide is the availability of real-life data sets and real-life mentors from AusCERT and its members and the ITS team, and also our partners, from around the world, which I'll show you later, a glimpse of the example of some of the partners that we have. And the center one, which is quite the attractive one, which is the interdisciplinary aspects of things, and then delivering in different forms. One of them is the Master of Cybersecurity, which I'll use as an example. So we have a history at UQ, and you all know the history establishing in 1992 with AusCERT's establishment. And we have kind of a benchmark there, because we are the second cert after CMU, Carnegie Mellon. It is our aspiration to, within the next few years, at least to have the structure and the programs that will match Carnegie Mellon's type of offerings, and value to the wider society. So we've launched a series of different, so we have about 40 academics from around the university and their partners, adjunct and full-time. And together with our partners, we want to develop the top graduates and the industry leaders in the cybersecurity sector. Some of the research that we do are quite varied. So I'm quite new to UQ. I've only joined in February. And in the first 3 months, I made an effort to walk around the campus. So my steps on my mobile phone was very high, right? And I think I lost maybe 10 kg, you know. But it's good. It's good walking. You know, we managed to find out the variety of things that people are actually doing that are in cyber or related to cyber. For example, the quantum communications. So we have a group which talks about the quantum key distribution, and also some of the people who are trying to find out ways to make a general quantum computer more possible, right? So we're still some time away from some of them, but the quantum key distribution, you know, for example, the likes of quintessence in ANU, they've shown that it is possible. And they're trying to find out ways to even optimize things like, you know, when you do it from a satellite down all to Earth, and how do you actually modulate them, and how do you make sure that the signal actually works properly? You know, these are the basic things that are quite cutting edge, but we need them, right? So sometimes universities get the stick for, you know, oh, you know, you don't train, but there's a lot of very interesting things that came out from the university. RSA, for example, we've got the CAPTCHA. CAPTCHA was also a university kind of effort, and so on and so forth. So we cover a few other aspects as well. I'm not going to read all of them, but you could see that on the other side of the spectrum, right, from the very technical parts all the way to the policy and the criminology part. So one of the trends that we see also right now is that, for example, when a person, so this is in my previous role and in the interaction with the frontline police officers and with the Interpol, we found that a lot of the frontline officers are not equipped with the knowledge and the technical expertise to handle cases like ransomware attacks. So a granny could come with a locked laptop to the police station and they get turned away because the police officer doesn't know what to do. You know, they said, oh, we can't help you. You know, you can look for your nearest IT guys, or you can call AusCERT. Yeah, right. So this is the reality. So the spectrum of what we have here are the challenges is quite large. It can be a full program by itself, right? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to partner with the government agencies, industry partners. So these are some of the samples of the researchers that I've talked to, and including myself, you know, who are we partnering with? We're also partnering with the likes of, you know, NATO, Interpol, ISO. We have Oracle Labs just in Brisbane, you know, Palo Alto Network, so on. NIST will be a key partner of us as well, and we're based in the Asia Pacific or in the Indo-Pacific region, so it is good to have friends all around. So working with APNIC and, you know, all the certs around the Pacific nations, Singapore, Japan, and Korea, we are attempting to create kind of like a very strong force of very technically sound people and also very strong multidisciplinary people as well. And we're tied to some of the centers of excellence, so we get access to some of the cutting edge equipment. So I was just having a chat with Silvio yesterday about, you know, some of the things that he wants to do on the hardware, and then he was talking about the equipment, and my head of school was just next to me, and he said, oh, we have those equipment, you know, why don't you come and just try them? I was like, okay. Yeah, so this is the beauty of the, you know, those kind of interdisciplinary work that we do. And the energy sector, of course, and critical infrastructure, and of course, more than 400 corporate members of the, now hitting 500. Yeah. Yep. So we're going to do it in a few ways: undergraduate degrees, postgraduate degrees, and so on. But I think I'm going to zoom into one, which is our proposed Master of Cybersecurity, which is kind of the NIST Framework aligned. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create 3 tiers. The first tier, right? So imagine, so this is kind of like a model after the medical school. or the engineering school, or the business school, right? So you come in with a common core, regardless of your background. So as long as you have a bachelor's degree, you can have a degree in music. I did have an alumni with a degree in music, and he became the best student in the Master of Cybersecurity, which I was running. So it's definitely possible. But you come in here and you learn from your friends, and you start to sit next to the guy who had a law background, and you make friends, right? You make a cohort. It's kind of like your high school students coming together again, right? And then we branch into specializations, different specializations, the cyber defense specializations, the leadership specializations, cybercrime specializations, and the cryptography specialization. In these specializations, if you have the background, you will skip some of the courses, for example, basics of databases and so on. Or if you don't have the background, you go through some of those, right? And for example, in cryptography, if you have done things like linear algebra, discrete math, then we wouldn't put you through the torture again. You go straight into our quantum computing and technologies courses, you go into our applied cryptography courses, and so on and so forth, right? So in a nutshell, this is where you start to build your muscles, right? Build your muscles, and then after that, we'll send you out, down the mountain into the real world with a capstone project. So if you're an existing employee of a company studying this part-time, then you can use your existing company's cybersecurity needs and research needs to be a part of your capstone research project. If you don't have an existing job, then we will have the employability team assisting you to form internships with a list of companies. For example, our AusCERT members and our ITS teams and beyond. It is my plan to start internships with global organizations as well. So this is, in a nutshell, this is how we structure it. I mentioned it verbally just now because I don't want to shock you with a lot of arrows and boxes. But this is the multi-entry and exit points that we're talking about. So imagine you're a typical mid-career person who's trying to pivot from an IT degree, going to specialize into cyber, and you want to do this at your own pace, but you want to do it in blocks. So now you can. So this is what we're planning to do. We have the core, so you could do the core, and you can take a few months, a semester's break, and then you come back again, and then if you need the foundation, you can do another 6 months, and if you want to do the specializations, you can do another 6 more months here and 6 more months here. Part of the attractiveness of these electives is that one of the electives will be housing and recognizing your prior certification experience. So one of the electives will be, say, if you have a CISSP already, that's great, right? We recognize it as a credit, and we'll acknowledge that as part of your degree. Yeah, we will also be holding courses on campus to facilitate trainers for our students. It's an optional thing, but if they want to do it, they can. This is following the Royal Holloway model, right? And we have the capstone projects, which I mentioned just now. So in the 4 different specializations, we would see a cohort or cohorts of different experts in different fields. And over time, we'll be adding more and more, right? So we are going to add areas like health sciences, medical, and then we have a critical infrastructure specialization and so on and so forth. It's going to, but for now, with our resources, this is what it is, right? And aligning to the NIST framework, so this is a presentation slide that I stole from my presentation to NIST. So we went over to the DC area, to Gaithersburg actually, and we presented this to them, and they validated that, yep, Ryan is not speaking nonsense. So, this is something that they would love to see that happening. I also gave them some feedback about, what are the missing areas in the NIST framework that we can work together. Right, so we're also contributing to that. Last week we held, so this is coming back to what we are doing right now before we launch the masters. Our masters will be launched next year from semester 2, but we are starting to receive inquiries, and we're trying to develop and polish up how we offer it. So last week we had the father of fuzzing, Professor Barton Miller, right? He came and delivered his secure coding and automated assessment tools workshop. Who attended that? Just curious. Yeah. Was it okay? Did you? Yeah, it was good. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a full day workshop. We were just testing, how do we deliver that. I think the spark came when it was a hands-on session, when people started to, work on it. Of course, we have the AusCERT conference, which we are currently at right now. Yeah. So the validation with industry is a continuing process for us, and we're trying to do that right now. And if you're interested in joining us, there are many ways to join us. For example, you can participate as a mentor. We have a distinguished speakers segment. We have the guest lecturer program where we will, if you say that, hey, I have this something passionate I want to speak about, that I think, I want the future generations to learn about, that's great. We're also hiring adjunct lecturers and professors. We're offering the internships, and there's this interesting thing which I found was very meaningful is if you would like to, give back. So there are stories of people who actually benefited from bursaries or scholarships in the past from someone else, and you want to pay it forward. You don't have to be a multi-millionaire. All you do is just say, okay, I think I'm quite interested in just sponsoring one person from a certain demographic or background, right? Of a certain financial background, and say, if there's such a person, I'll be quite happy to do that. So this is a possibility as well. And if you think that, what I've shown you is something that you would like to comment about, just come to us. So with that, thank you very much. So open to questions if there's time. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got, what's that, 2 minutes, I think?
I've got a question.
Oh, sorry, 7 minutes.
You had a potential course structure with specializations, and you had those 4 specializations.
Yep.
Just wondering where you came to pick those 4. I'm presuming that's what you're thinking might be industry need and
yes,
at the moment
industry
and so
need.
forth. Could you just how you did that and what was thinking processes behind it?
So there was a year and a half homework done by Catherine and her team, Catherine and John, where they conducted an industry-wide survey. They also looked at all the existing degrees from around the world and in Australia. And then we looked at the NIST Framework, and we also looked at the sector needs. So we started to divide into the sectors. Like, for example, if you are from defense, ASD, and so on, or if you're in the software provider trying to do crypto solutions, or in a defense prime company, then the crypto stream might be very attractive to you. And then the criminology one is the interactions with the police and the law enforcement people. The leadership one, which I didn't elaborate just now, is kind of like an MBA for cyber. So if you have about 2 years experience in the workforce and you're trying to pivot into a CISO or CISO, you can start to think. So it's going to be taught by the MBA folks, my colleagues at the business school, and they're going to implement some of those techniques into the cybersecurity constraints, and it's going to be quite interesting, yeah. And so it's all about how to become an effective leader, doing organizational management, and doing the right budgeting, thinking about operational constraints, communications, and so on and so forth. And then the traditional cyber defense one, which we all are very familiar with. Yeah, I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, very good.
I was wanting to ask a question on a similar topic.
Yep.
I was noted during your presentation, given the complex industry knowledge required post-graduation from just a bachelor's degree, 5 to 10 years experience to work effectively in the information security sector,
yep.
even just for mid-tier ICT roles,
yeah.
How do you effectively propose to actually uplift students or people who have actually had minor, like 2 to 3 years of industry experience, to the point where they can actually be effective walking straight into some of the roles that we're actually requiring in industry?
We can't do that immediately. I think some things cannot be shortcut, experience still has to be gained. But what we want to do is to equip them with the mindset of continual thinking, right, that can enable them. But during the entire course, as you can see from the partners that we're working with, they'll be having contacts and networks like never before. And that's another thing. And in the educational space, right, we have to consider the basic skills, the vocational skills, and also some of the strategic skills. So working with the TAFE colleges, we're actually trying to see how we can complement each other as well. And moving into leadership, we're trying to see how we can educate the boards or the C-suites through our leadership specialization.
It's good to hear that you're taking such a well-rounded approach to considering those kinds of issues.
It's good work by Catherine and John, actually.
Before any other questions, does anybody have a survey to bring up to the front? Okay, any further questions?
If not, then I would like to invite Dr. David Stockdale, Director of AusCERT, to, draw the lucky winner.
Okay, what's the prize?
Is the hamper, yeah. Where is that?
We'll try to make this as fair, because there's a few that have gone in, so we'll try to move them around a little bit. I probably shouldn't do this on my back to everybody, should I? Okay. You look like I'm being actually... All right, got one, got two, got one. I think it's one. Yeah, it's one.
Oh, I'm excited by that one.
Ooh.
Oh, somebody's had to take it off. Oh, somebody from the Teachers Mutual Bank Limited. And I haven't got my glasses on, so Ryan, you're younger than me, so you can read it.
His name is Con Nicolau, Head of Cyber Protection from the Teachers Mutual Bank Limited. Are you here? Yeah. He's right outside now? Oh, cool. If you can, is he outside or? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, but in the interest of time, I don't want to hold you back from your lunch. Please feel free to, head on to the lunch, and we will present the prize to Con over here.
Everybody, please thank Ryan for such a good presentation on the upcoming cybersecurity.
Thank you.